fine. I'm getting work right now. I can't get out of this because I keep getting grab repeated. Okay. Alrighty, hey yo, what is up, Knights? Aegis Rick here, back with some more DFO PvE on my Elven Knight. Now, guys, it's been a long time since I've done a video, almost 2 weeks, because I've been doing streaming pretty much non-stop. If you guys aren't following me on Twitch, make sure you do that, because we do a lot of stuff here in the new region of the game, St. Horn. Now, I consider this kind of like end-game kind of content, even though you can jump into here once you hit about level 70, you'll have access to all the levels, almost. So you kind of got 2 different areas here. On the left will be your Otherverse dungeons, which we will be doing a lot of extensive videos on, trying to explain how to do these, because these are pretty much end-game dungeons. This is what I consider end-game stuff. You get Chronicle gear out of them. You pretty much need parties to go in there. There's a lot of gimmicks and a lot to learn to do these dungeons. So these are not like your normal dungeons where you could just go in there and kind of wreck. Those do require a lot of practice and skill, I guess, just know-how. So I've been doing that a lot. You guys can see I have a ton of gear in terms of my Chronicle gear. And again, like I said, we'll be explaining that later. And in the right here is what we're actually going to be doing for this video, is the Ancient Dungeons. Now, I forgot to mention, actually, the St. Horn region itself is unlike any other region in the game. You guys can see we're kind of just in here alone. We're in our own little area, the St. Horn region, and you can only actually access it by changing your channel and then selecting the St. Horn region yourself. So you guys can see we have the general channels. That's for your normal, leveling and stuff. But when you go into the St. Horn region to get to the special dungeons, those being your Otherverse and Ancient Dungeons, you can access them by going into the St. Horn channel tab. So that's kind of the gimmick there, and the reason for that mostly is because you want and or need to be in a party for these stages. So you'll notice a lot of people are here farming their Chronicle gears and all of that. So anyway, guys, let's go ahead and go into some of the Ancient Dungeons, and we'll be showing off, like I said, maybe some guide videos later on the Otherverse dungeons later. Alrighty, guys, so on the right side of the ship, guys, we have our Ancient Dungeons. Now, these are nowhere near as hard as the Otherverse dungeons on the left. You can jump into here like the Otherverse dungeons at level 70, and then it will actually carry you through all the way through to 85. So it's basically like high-leveled content that keeps getting progressively harder. But the gimmick there with the Ancient Dungeons is that generally you'll have to go there many times because there's various events and feats that you can accomplish, such as all of these titles. For instance, if I keep doing the Ancient King's Ruins, which I'm going to be doing right now, I can get some really good accessories, such as this attack damage plus 9%, which is actually quite significant. But the gimmick actually with all of these dungeons is that you require a quest item to go in there, and every time you want to go in there, you'll have to craft, you'll at least have to have a Amulet of Tranquility to go into the King's Ruins, and for every stage after that, it will require some kind of special item that you need to craft. And you can see the item requirements. You need 5 Endless Eternities and a bunch of White Cube fragments. Those will start adding up when you keep going in there. So the idea is you're going to need to keep farming these for all the quests, all the feats and stuff, but at the same time you're going to also have to keep purchasing that that item that you need to go in there. And obviously you guys can see I don't have an Amulet of Tranquility, so I need to craft it. Now, in all honesty, you can get a ton of these invites, but you got to kind of disperse them out, depend on which ones you want to actually farm, because you don't have that many materials. But every single one of these stages will require one of those items. So if you're farming anything, make sure you get enough invites to actually go in there, guys. So I'm going to be doing the King's Ruin first of all. And like I said, these are not nearly as hard as the Otherverse dungeons. They're not as gimmicky. There are some gimmicks, and we'll display them as we go along. Alrighty, guys, so now actually going into these dungeons, a lot of things have actually changed since the last time you guys saw me. So we got to turn on that on. Got super armor buff. A lot of things have changed, guys, in terms of gears, in terms of builds, in terms of the items I have, like avatar items and all that. So I'm gonna go ahead and display everything that has changed in terms of gear. You guys can see I am doing Otherverse a lot, so I have a ton of Chronicle gears, and I've actually replaced them with the Legacy that I used to have. I replaced them with the Chronicle gears. I have a bunch of cracked dimensionals, which allow me to put stats on it, so I'm putting Sentence debuff like massively on there, as well as trying to get the Warcry for the attack strength increase. And so that's what I'm kind of going for now. These cracked dimensionals aren't nearly as good as the set effects, which I do have at least one piece of the set effect here for the Rush Infinite Chain. These are just something that you can over time acquire. So I have a lot of the cracked dimensionals, but I'm trying to get the set effects, at least one set effect out of the 6 that I have for Elven Knight. In terms of the avatar, I have a full clone avatar set. I even put some strength emblems in there to give me some more damage. And that's really has helped me out a lot in terms of, you know, attack speed, move speed, and even some extra strength out of there, out of having the full set effect. In terms of our creature, we also have Marbus pet, which gives me haste or attack speed and move speed buff, or the Marbus, I have both of them, or Bodice, excuse me, which gives me like damage. Two pretty good overskills to have because it gives it to the whole party. It's like a party buff, so really useful on this front. But anyway, guys, let's talk about a little bit about the dungeons. If you guys have played old DFO, then these dungeons are extremely familiar to you. If you don't remember, this is what was required, actually. You had to do these dungeons at like a low level so that you can awaken into your next job. This is what you needed to do to get your awakening skill, like your, you know, when you awaken. So obviously now, this kind of stuff is a lot easier than what it used to be. Now, this is why a lot of people complain about the Awakening quest. Well, they don't know how it used to be before when you had to do this shit, and it was incredibly hard. Obviously, now we're like seriously over-leveled, so it's nowhere near as difficult content, and also not required. So, big fan of this dungeon now, but it used to be, this one and the last one used to be just absolutely terrifying dungeons to do. This guy right here actually has a gimmick where if you look at him when you cast that lightning bolt, you get stunned. Obviously, not as detrimental now, but it used to one-shot you when you were at lower levels. So. And this is why these ancient dungeons are nowhere near as hard, mostly because, you know, you can keep leveling throughout the regular game and then jump here later when you're over-leveled later on. So I'm finding that to be a lot easier. I'm going to use a chain combo right here. And we have changed my build a little bit as well, and I think this is the one I'm going to be running with pretty generally here. Get a grab off, and easy kill right there. I'm bored in there. So, have changed my build, so we'll show that when we go to Vilmark, but have had to change a lot of things merely because Otherverse demands it. There's a lot of gimmicks that require me to use things that I haven't used before, such as, you know, the impregnable defense, which, you know, I can use a lot to move enemies around. I'm using a lot of the verdant strash right there, which it causes a good long grab, as well as this, the natural restraint also causes a pretty long grab. Getting to learn a lot more different skills that the Elven Knight has, and I gotta admit, working on right now currently, and I guess you heard it here first, a skill build for the Elven Knight, at least in PvE, and I'll be discussing every skill in the game, so have gotten a lot of chance to test them out and which ones are actually viable, especially in Otherverse. Even have the dual skill build, or the dual skill change build icon, because that will allow me to change to do two different types of builds, which is viable on the Elven Knight, I'll have you guys know. So anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and go into Vilmark Area 50, which is another kind of gimmicky stage. More straightforward, I would say, but the last one is intended to be pretty gimmicky, but again, I remind you how over-leveled we are, so we don't have to worry about that. So in terms of build, guys, I've changed my... basically only really changed... I mean, I kept all the cube skills, obviously. Changed which skills I had on my A skill, really. I just got the Punto... Lethal Punto, which gives... yeah, I think it gives a lot of damage. I actually maxed it to max level. I think it does significant damage as a poke. I mean, I usually only use those skills to increase my chain rush skill hit counter. I think that one does effective at that. So, it does an effective job at that. So, you guys can see my damage is just out of this world right now. Remember, this used to be absolutely incredibly annoying because these guys like explode and like, kill you. Supposed to get them to spawn completely. Biggest thing about my gear when I got a bunch of Chronicle gears is that I was able to have a really low cooldown on the Sentence debuff. So right now I think it's running close to 50% cooldown on the Sentence debuff with all of my gear and all of the stats that I put on it. So my Sentence debuff is just really abusable right now, currently with the correct dimensional gear that I have on it. I really screwed that combo up. Alright, so you see I missed with the Sentence and was able to cast it again. Another reason why the Lethal Punto is a really good skill to have, at least at the end game. I would say it's not that strong a skill, but it's a good point, a good skill to dump your points in when you have extra points at the higher levels. I'm getting work right now. I can't get out of this because I keep getting grab repeated. Okay, yeah, there you go. Just everybody die, please. Let's use actual strong seals and get out of that chain. Are you serious? That happened? Anyway. So yeah, finding that a lot of useful use out of that. This is what I was talking about, like pushing enemies. This will be really important in the Otherverse dungeons, which again I mentioned we'll talk about that one. So I am planning on making a guide video on that because all of them are really gimmicky stages, much more than what you're seeing here. I mean, this is just, you know, strong enemies, deal with them. But in the case with Otherverse, there's going to be a case where, you know, if you don't know the gimmicks, if you just refuse to learn them, you're going to make your party mad because you're going to kill everybody pretty much. So it's something that I think my videos will be able to help you out on. And I've gotten a lot of practice at them too, obviously, since I got a bunch of Chronicle gears as well. So right there you're seeing just tons of damage. And I feel like I've pretty much optimized how the Elven Knight will play for the most part. So I feel like I'm pretty confident in making a build now. Earlier on, I wasn't so well confident at that. I wasn't that confident. Anyway, guys, there's your Vilmark Area 50. Was not that hard of a dungeon, I realized that, but again, like I showed you guys, these get progressively harder, and by the end of it, guys, we will actually be going into challenging dungeons that are designed for level 85, so I will be getting close to dying, is what I'm getting at here, and that being said, I'm like at half HP here already. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. In the next videos, we're gonna keep going up the ancient dungeons, I think, and also look out for the guide videos that I want to make on the Otherverse dungeons, because like I said, those will require some like scripted, I had to show you guys everything about those rooms, because I feel like these videos will be really important for those of you guys who want to do the end kind of content in the Otherverse. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you knights later.